In a world of pure imagination.
The achievements of the Tobin Brothers Foundation recipients in this room today have never been limited by a lack of imagination or determination. In a world in which the nightly news is so often dominated by reports of unspeakable crime, political unrest, human tragedy and unimaginable acts of terrorism, the people you're about to meet have become beacons of light amid the darkness of those who are terminally ill, bereaved, homeless, victims of domestic violence, hungry or unemployed. Very often operating only on the smell of an oily rag, but buoyed by their commitment to really make a difference, the Tobin Brothers Foundation is delighted to be able to financially assist 12 organisations that for literally thousands of Victorians have become microcosms of hope.
Morning routines, he will move all the mucus, he will do a nose nebulizer, sinus nebulizer, do huffing, we do coughing, we might do some jumping, then we do another 10 of these. Here we go. Want to do it?
1, 2. Cystic fibrosis, or CF, is the build-up of thick, sticky mucus in the lungs and the digestive system. The average life expectancy at birth for a child born with CF in Australia is 37 years. Cystic fibrosis is an inherited genetic condition. In Australia there are over 3,000 people suffering from cystic fibrosis. A child with CF may have what we call pancreatic insufficiency, so it's unable to digest the fats in food, and therefore often a child with CF fails to thrive. So we provide funding and we provide equipment to hospitals to ensure that our CF patients can get the best equipment they need.
The Youth Transitions Program is a really big endeavour for the Brotherhood of St Lawrence. We want to work with as many young people as we possibly can. We work from a perspective where we believe that all young people have talent, no matter what their situation might be, no matter what they might have gone through. And it's that talent that once they've identified it in themselves and once they've built certain skills, they can use to find their dream job and really identify their aspirations and go on to thrive in a fantastic opportunity for them. When a young person walks through the door of one of our services, it's a disarming conversation for many of them. So many have been dealing with Centrelink or they've been service connected in other realms. When they come through the door of our service, the first question they're asked is, what are you good at? And the second question they're asked is, when you were younger, what did you always want to be when you grow up? Because we want to get them in that hopeful mindset. To give you an example of a young man who'll be a beneficiary of this funding, there's a young man called Reese, who we work with in Hastings, who's an incredibly talented young man who has a dream of being a plumber, but just wasn't really sure where that aptitude would fit in the world of work. Now, we've found a plumber in the local area who's going to give Reese his first opportunity. He just loves Reese, he met him, but he needs to do his pre-apprenticeship first. So this scholarship will give him the ability to be able to do that pre-apprenticeship, buy his tools and really get prepared to step through the door into his first job as a plumber.
We have a very busy audiology and otology clinic at Tarralee. We have 8 audiologists working here currently, and we see about 6,000 children in the course of a year. So the newborn babies are referred to us through the Victorian Infant Hearing Screening Program. That program is in place so that all newborn babies, while they're still in their birth hospital, have a screening test done, and if there's a problem picked up, they're then referred to a diagnostic centre such as ours. These parents can be quite upset with a newborn baby, a possible problem detected, so we try and see the babies as soon as possible. So often we're seeing babies within the first couple of weeks of life. When the children come to us, we do a very detailed test. Newborn babies can't give us a behavioural response to sound. An older child would be able to show that they can hear a sound by turning their head to a sound through a loudspeaker. But newborn babies, we rely on electrophysiological testing to test their hearing. We pop some soft sounds through the earphone into the baby's ear. The electrodes pick up that response that we're receiving as an electrical impulse. Now, with the babies being picked up at a very young age, we're achieving much better speech and language outcomes for these children.
Food, glorious food, hot sausage and mustard, while we're in the mood.
Just prior to 2003, we got together as churches and decided that we would work together on emergency relief. We would be far more efficient. And so in 2003, we incorporated a body called Whittlesea Ministries Incorporated, which incorporates the 5 churches that are here in Whittlesea.
We see a lot of single mums, a lot of pensioners, and a lot of people that have got disabilities or are on medication through one illness or another and can't seem to make ends meet. A lot of our clients are long-term, others we only see occasionally, and some maybe they've just become out of work, so they might only be in for a few months until they re-establish themselves again.
We lost our son in February this year, and without your cuddle cot we wouldn't have had 4 days with him. I'm forever grateful for that, and also the memory box which I still have and have added a few extra things to for Flynn.
A cuddle cot is a cooling device that circulates water through a mat that ultimately cools the core temperature of a stillborn baby or a baby that's passed soon after birth. It eliminates the process that families don't need to say goodbye to their babies and have them at the mortuary. After I had a placenta abruption in 2013 with Americus, I was Googling and come across the cuddle cot from a family in the UK that had used one for 7 days with their baby. This is very important to Ben and I. When Americus passed, obviously the hospital that she passed at didn't have a cuddle cot, so our time was very limited. We needed to be able to say, goodbye and hello a number of times, which was very hard. We have 4 other children that was also a part of this process, and it was very hard to go to the mortuary to see our child, and we wanted to eliminate that separation. We wanted parents to be able to grieve in the comfort of their own home, and we wanted them to have as much time as possible with their babies and not have that decision made for them. I remember when we lost Americus, we were offered to have photos, and Ben said no at first because obviously it's too hard. And I'd said to Ben, look, I'm going to go and have photos. If you don't want to, that's fine. But just remember that you can put these photos away. You don't need to look at them. But if you don't have them, you can't go back and get them. So it was something that we needed to have. So within that, we then started thinking about memory creation. So we now donate memory boxes as well.
Aussie Hand supports families that have children born with a hand difference, so that might mean that they're missing their entire hand and perhaps their wrist and part of their arm, or it might mean that they're missing one or more digits. There also are children who have lost their hand through cancer or an accident, so we support those children as well. Well, we've got our patron, Kate Doherty, who's been the patron for some years, and she has a hand inference, she was born with a hand inference, and she's had an amazing athletics career. She was a para-equestrian for Australia, and then in the end of 2014 decided to become a triathlete. And it's done amazingly well, like represented Australia at the Paralympics last year. One of our things is to get her to come and speak about her experience of growing up to the parents, answer the questions of how she thinks to best respond to bullying, what her experience of school was. Just generally, I think the parents really like to be able to meet someone achieving.
We work with people with a range of disabilities: intellectual, physical, sensory, neurological, autism, and we run a range of programs. What we're on about is extended families believes that the community is important and that people having connections is important. So we try and strengthen those connections that people have with each other and the community and activities.
When I realised that my child have cerebral palsy, my life hit by a truck upside down, and it's very hard to smile anymore because everything becomes so difficult. And at camp we are able to have fun activities. We can laugh through the activities and through games. So I found it's very important.
And they are a fantastic group. They are so supportive of each other, they're vibrant, they're positive. I love meeting with them.
Most of the parents are very withdrawn from the community and they feel very isolated because they mostly feel uncomfortable when they enter the community or when they go to someone else's houses where that parent doesn't have a child with special needs. And so they feel a little bit uncomfortable when their child misbehaves. And so with the camp, it's create like a welcome opportunity, an environment, a positive atmosphere for them. So in that aspect, I think we have to agree that all of our parents love the camp and so does the children.
We're in Flinders Street on Wednesday and Friday nights giving tea and coffee to homeless people. You don't have all the support networks that you would normally have if you lived in a family home or in a stable, environment. So they might have accommodation, but they may have no control over that accommodation. There may be no, future for them in that accommodation. It could be dangerous accommodation. And so the state of homelessness is that they really don't have that, that sense of safety and comfort that we get when we go home. So when we started, it was youth outreaching to young people, and it provides an opportunity for young people to be involved in volunteering with other people their age. And we get from them a lot of the time, they can afford a $1 coffee from 7-Eleven or they can afford a coffee from McDonald's, but they don't get that conversation or the community aspect that they get when they come to our van. It really is like a little family for them. And so that's what I think keeps them coming back, which is really nice for us to hear because it means that our whole model is working. On any given night in Melbourne, you can get a free, fairly decent meal. So they're not coming to us out of necessity for food or for drink, because they can get it elsewhere. Those services are trying to get as many people fed in a short amount of time, whereas we don't have to worry about that stress. We can just have a chat.
Melbourne City Mission's a community services organisation. We've existed for 160 years. We have a wide range of clients we work with. We work with homeless people. A large portion of our work is working in the new NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme, and transitioning into that. And we also work with children and families. For over 100 years we've operated out of a venue called Hartnett House. More recently we've added a range of other venues in the western suburbs and in the growth corridors where there are marked social disadvantage and issues going on. We provide childcare and daycare, kindergarten services. We provide palliative care. We're one of the largest providers in Victoria of in-home palliative care, which is a fantastic program. We're using the money to develop a bilingual library for children in Braybrook. So we run a kindergarten and a daycare centre in Braybrook. We have between 200 and 300 families associated with that centre. Most of those families, I'm talking around 70% of those families, are from bilingual backgrounds and speak multiple languages in their homes. Children growing up in contexts of multiple languages, grandparents who don't speak English. So what we're developing is a bilingual library for these families to utilise books that will help them come to a better understanding of living in Australia, some of the service systems, some of the opportunities available, and also connect them back into their own cultures as well.
We are funded by the government to provide a homelessness outreach and support service. The layer that is added to that is our specialist expertise also in family violence.
I think there's a perception that now there is an opportunity for women and children to perhaps break free in a way that they hadn't before from violent relationships and go somewhere safe and be supported, and I guess that's where we come in.
Now, a number one focus of that is finding safe, secure, affordable housing. So where she lives will be really important. The resources she needs to stay safe from him in case he decides to pursue her and try and get back with her, and she doesn't want that to happen. So that's where we work with the courts, with the police, with refuge systems, and sometimes those women go in and out of crisis in that process. So we're making a house a home funding that Tobin Brothers has supported really helps. It means she can move in and she actually has a few couches from the Salvos or St Vinny's. It means she has a cupboard full of food to start her new life. It might mean that she can get a mobile phone for her child to keep the child safe going to the new school if the child is anxious about that. It's the difference between a roof over your head and feeling like you've moved into a home.
So what we aim to do is provide them with a safe house that then they get to create that home environment around, which is really important for, I guess, the healing from the trauma so that they can then move on with their lives.
We've been around for a good part of 24 years. It did start as a little drop-in centre that was open for half a day a week, and as women came and needs became more apparent, little programs started to spring from that, and now it runs recreation support classes, it runs social support classes, and it also runs education support classes. The primary role, I would say, is to empower women and for women to come to a place that they can feel connected if they're feeling isolated, and it's a place of healing for them, it's a place of acceptance, it's a place of being able to be. Women actually not just come here, but we take them on excursions to different places in and around the city and around Melbourne, so that they get to actually experience what it's like and understand, you know, what it is that's being talked about. They learn how to negotiate, they learn how to navigate.
We provide care to a wide range of people in our community, people who have complex symptom issues and complex psychosocial issues and spiritual problems. We look after people with life-threatening conditions, so from metastatic cancer diagnoses right through to motor neurone disease. We look after babies right through to old people, so it traverses the entire life cycle.
It's the holistic approach, and part of that is trying to ensure that the client has a dignified experience at home with all the equipment that can come in and support them, and the carers, such as hospital beds, recliners that we've been very grateful to receive, that assist the client to be able to care for themselves and be still independent with their deterioration. So it's something that a lot of our clients have been so grateful for, to be able to stay in the home for as long as possible if they can, and especially the younger families and the younger clients, just being able to stay in the lounge room in a recliner with their children in their last days. I mean, that's priceless memories for the family.
The Tobin Brothers grant is going to be of huge benefit to many of our young people. We're using it specifically as a scholarship for young people who are facing particular financial hardship at the moment, but who have fantastic talents and great skills and an aptitude which could land them their first really big dream job in the local community.
So that's what the grant is going towards. So it sounds like, well, you're buying fridges is not very interesting, but it's actually life-changing for people in the ward, in the hospital. They spend a lot of time in hospital, and they need somewhere to keep their high-protein drinks and their high-fat foods and their nutritional needs.
So I'd like to say a big thank you to the Tobin Brothers for the very generous donation. These electrodes that we use for testing the babies are $2.50 each, and we go through at least 4 of them each time we test a baby.
At the moment we don't have any hot water, so we hope to set up that and a hand washing sink and another freezer.
We take every donation to heart. It's very, very much appreciated by Ben and I and the foundation. So the $3,500 that you guys are donating will go towards the purchase of another cuddle cot, or it will go towards memory boxes, which are a gift for families to be able to create memories of their babies during that time.
We're using the funds to ask our patron, Kate Dowdy, to come and speak to the parents about her experience of growing up.
We sincerely thank you for Tobin Brothers Company, extended family organisation.
You have to buy a lot of tea and coffee and Milo and sugar, so it will come in handy to help us restock the van for hopefully the rest of the year, and also pay off what we've spent for the Christmas Eve celebrations.
Thank you, Tobin Brothers. Thank you for the grant. We're very appreciative. We're using the money to develop a bilingual library for children in Braybrook.
And we literally could not provide that extra support to the woman to help her feel safe and settled without donations such as this one. It's just so important and so appreciated. And any woman in the program would love the opportunity to tell Tobin Brothers this directly. So we are speaking very much in their words.
And that requires funding, ongoing funding that we need to see just about every year to actually run that program. That comes from philanthropy. So, thank you very much for enabling us to do an aspect of that program.
Well, we've allocated the funds for 2 recliners, which enables our clients to, especially if they're in that intermediate stage of not really needing a bed or emotionally being ready for a hospital bed or be secluded from the family in a room.
Without your help, we could not having the camp. Thank you so much.
Thank you.